Amanda Shalala from ABC News 24.
Yeah, as Glenn alluded to, I don't think there's much credibility with the Pakistan Cricket Board. They've buried their head in the sand many times before. They shifted the blame when the allegations came out about the no balls with Amir Butt and Asif. So they need to try and step up and claim some responsibility here. I've got to applaud Header for coming out and making a stand. It's a very, very brave thing to do if what he's saying is true, and sort of putting his neck on the line. And if more players come forward and do that, then there'll be no ground to stand on.
He's really put himself at risk. He says that his life was threatened, and also his family.
Well, this is making a huge statement and could really change the way that cricketers do deal with approaches from bookmakers, because up until now it's very much been kept under the carpet. And even if players have been approached, remember Mark Waugh and Shane Warne were approached quite a few years back, and they all tried to keep it very hush-hush. But if players will come out, actually make a stand and say, look, this is going on, we need to wipe it out, then there might actually be some chance of getting rid of them, rather than trying to ignore it and pretend that it doesn't exist.
Pressures on Marcus North and Mike Hussey?
I don't think they will. The selectors tend to play it safe, particularly for a home Ashes series. They won't want to take any risks. Personally, I would love to see some fresh blood come in the middle order. And I think, unlike the Nathan Horrocks situation, where there really isn't another spinner coming through, applying enough pressure on, coming through, particularly Usman Khawaja for New South Wales, that could really perform well on that stage and should be given a chance, I think, particularly at home. It would be unfair to throw him in an overtime for Huss and North to go.
Glenn Mitchell, you mentioned there that Greg...
Just about the sport. It's about something bigger than that. There is a bigger picture behind this, and not just from an Australian perspective. If you look at those smaller countries that were able to be a part of this, and I think there was a Tongan swimmer that made the final of a swimming event for the first time ever, and he said there wasn't even a 50-metre swimming pool in Tonga. So those are the sorts of really great stories that you get out of the Games, and it wasn't a raging success in terms of the way it was executed, but this is the way India does things. I think we're very different in the way we do things in Australia. It's very meticulously organised, but even in the cricket, you know, here we have super soakers when it rains to come and clean up the pitch. In India, they get about a dozen women with rags to clean up the pitch. So they're always a little bit unconventional, but they do manage to get the job done.
And so you
could ever hope to see. And that rivalry between Australia and New Zealand in the netball is one of the best in world sport. Forget about the rugby, the cricket, anything else. There's always only a couple of goals in it every time these two teams meet. The way all those girls stood up and performed yesterday, it was so fast-paced, so skillful, and to see the likes of Maria Tutaia from New Zealand, just her dominance in the goal circle, absolutely unbelievable. She's only 23, under so much pressure, just to calmly drop goals every time. Kath Cox was a standout for Australia.
And it went into double extra.
You know what? I haven't actually.
Wow.
That's why I became a sports journo, because I'm terrible at playing sport, but I'm ridiculously passionate about watching it.
Not since Bob Hawke.
Warne. He shouldn't be setting his own fields, really, especially in those conditions in India. And I think Ponting really dropped.
We're going to have a look at it in a moment, not just yet, but your impressions of that day yesterday.
Oh, look, a hat-trick is an incredibly rare thing to get in Test cricket, and it's only the 5th one that has ever happened for an Australian in an Ashes Test, so it's quite incredible. And I think if you looked back to before the Ashes started and said, who's a likely bowler to take a Test hat-trick, I don't think you would have picked Peter Siddle, but good on him. On his 26th birthday, it was incredible to watch. It was just really accurate bowling. He fooled Cook, Pryor and then Broad, and they just had no answers for him. It was a wonderful spell all around. He did take 6 for, and it was, yeah, one of the great moments, I would say, in Ashes history.
Australia at 5 for 143. They sort of had a pretty tenuous hold on the match at that point, didn't they, I think?
Well, it wasn't looking good. There was, as you said before, a top and middle order collapse, and Australia was in a bit of strife, but Mike Hussey, cometh the moment, cometh the man. He has been under incredible pressure, along with Marcus North, to hold down that middle order spot, and he really stepped up today. He's 81 not out at stumps and has been just in incredible form. He came out, wasn't tentative at all, just played his game from the start. Some great shots. He hit a 6 as well quite early on. So if Hussey stays there along with Haddon, then we've got a really good shot of overhauling our first innings deficit and getting in front. But if either of those wickets fall, then Australia will be in some real trouble. Wildly patriotic Australian, so I'll say Hussey will go on to make a big 100, hopefully 150 plus, and I think Haddon will do well to chime in. If we can get a lead even of 100 or so, I think we'll be doing okay, provided that our bowlers can hold up in the second innings. The pitch will get better to bat on, though. Obviously the first 2 days there has been a lot of juice in it for the bowlers, and they've taken their rewards, but hopefully we can muster some sort of innings, which I think Australia can do, and then build on from there.
Scott?
But I don't think it is cricket. So I think what Cricket Australia should be doing is really pushing the test side of things and promoting that, because test cricket is something unique, cannot be replicated in any other sport across the world, and have this fun hit and giggle, which is the 2020, make a bit of cash, but don't try and make it a staple of the sport, because then I think we could fall down in that area.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on it?
Amanda and Catherine, you guys have met before.
Was working on the 2007 Netball World Championships in New Zealand, and Australia won the final, which was absolutely amazing. And then I got told, okay, lovely Kath, and I was so flustered by the end of it. I got through all my questions. I was like, oh, thanks, Cox.